I guess we're down to the last item, the big discussion. Is that adjourned? Do you have any?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for everybody. I won't give a lot of this thank you to the chairs for calling this committee. Senator Dotzler, I've been listening to you very carefully today, just like I do in all our committee meetings we share on the Senate floor. You know, you're just listening to your background, really interested in your background, Miles. You said today, if islands are investing. You also said if islands that islands are fighting for opportunities. Okay. One of the things that you and I can do, we can lead in the legislature to pass this 0.3% sales tax increase to provide a constitutional protected funding source that would benefit REAP, that would benefit the Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship, provide cost share money at a time when the federal budgets are shrinking in that regard, to benefit fish and wildlife habitat, hunting, fishing, good urban environments. We could do that. And that's all I have to say. But we have a way to do it, and the people of Iowa spoke clearly in the election of that constitutional amendment at 63%, and recent polling shows their support is growing. So I would just end with that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Johnson, I agree with your assessment that islands are growing in support of paying for these types of enhancements and recreational opportunities in our state. It's getting more difficult to travel. People are trying to take save family budgets. Wages aren't keeping up. They want to be able to recreate close to their home. To save a little bit of money, and Iowa resources are definitely something there. I know that people are, with the added 1 cent, that increases sales tax, that adds a burden to Iowans. I support it. I'll vote for it. I voted for the constitutional amendment. But Iowans are having hard times, and I know that the majority party in the House and the minority party in the Senate has said statements about being overtaxed. And in fact, we created the Taxpayer Trust Fund that when we had additional resources, we want to hand them revenues back to Iowans as checks for, I think we're going to have one that's going to be close to $50, $60 here. I submit to you it'd be a lot easier for us if we would take those dollars and give them back to Iowans in the ways that they've already voted for, an increase in taxes without increasing their taxes, and just taking that money and putting it back into river enhancements and recreational opportunities in our state. So that's my response to that. I think that that's a much wiser way to go. If they're overtaxing people, let's not tax them anymore. Let's make sure that we give those dollars back where they're best to be used. Mr. Chairman, I have here, I'm going to hand this out. There's just kind of a basic guideline, maybe a proposed recommendation that was kind of put together before we heard a lot of what was said today. And it kind of serve as a discussion point. I don't know if we want to completely discuss this today, or we're going to plan a vote. I don't know what you're talking about, but maybe we can pass these around to the members of the committee. And what it is basically a list of kind of a proposed recommendation. And I'll just start to go through a little bit of what this is about. We realize that there have been some requests, and Iowa Rivers Revival led the request of putting a substantial amount of money back into the DNR to try to do some of the things that we learned about here today. And so this recommendation would be that we direct the Department of Natural Resources to develop a plan and recommended funding for river restoration projects that are designed to achieve the following goals. Now, we know that the governor has recommended all department heads have a status quo budget. So I'm not telling that the DNR revise their budget. but at least put together a plan what the kind of things that we had heard today would cost additional for. And there's a short list here, and this isn't totally inclusive. Some of the things could be left out. Maybe others want to add to this, but the number, the way it was put down, I don't think it's in orders of importance. But number 3 one would say insurance, significant improvement to water clarity. I would remove safety and add quality of Iowa rivers and waterways would be our first recommendation. The second one would be provide for a sustainable, healthy, and safe functioning river system. Number 3, to improve river recreation access, and that's all canoeing, kayaking, tubing, all that, and habitat for fishing, hunting, and wildlife. And then go back up and say, in doing this, to ensure a cost-effective and positive return for the citizens of Iowa, we must ensure that local community commitments to rivers and watersheds protection. And then, as a result of all this, hopefully, add into the removal of certain river segments that have been worked on and head restoration or water management practices could remove them from the impaired water list as being kind of a major goal. So those are just some thoughts about this. I don't know if we want to think about this further or pass it out. I've done it different ways in other interim committees. I don't know what the chair's thoughts are.
Well, I have asked, once I was appointed to this position, I've asked different people on, because this is my first go-around on this, and I guess I've come to the conclusion that we've gathered so much information today that I would suggest that we go home, digest it, and then maybe through our different caucuses, put together some sort of proposal and work through that. As I read this directing the DNR, I don't think we as this committee have that power. I think our power is to go back to to the legislature and say, here, this is what we're thinking. And I think we can do that on an individual basis. And hopefully, coming to session, we can work something out and maybe start, this be the starting point of something. And I guess that's just my own personal opinion, but that's where I am at.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I would just add, this would direct the Department of Natural Resources alone, but the DNR has to work in conjunction with the Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship as well in our river conservations. We're fortunate to have Secretary Northey in office because this is where our, we've got three of them funded now. Still, we still have 3 well-weighted companies. But it takes, I think, all state agencies that might have, a role to play in this, not just the DNR. In general, I mean, I kind of follow what you're saying. I agree with your secret on it.
Yeah, I might suggest that committee reconvene early in the session and, come back and discuss exactly where we are at that point rather than just leaving it kind of out in space. I would make a motion that we reconvene during session where it's much cheaper to save us and try to have it in January if at all possible. Because the first 2 weeks of session we're not doing a whole lot anyway. I would make that motion. We reconvene.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Discussion. Senator Brown.
I would support that. I would suggest that, I know the vote's on whether we're going to meet again, but in the process of that the chairs really take and put kind of a framework together. And I think, Senator Johnson's comments about making sure that the ag is involved and others are important. That this shouldn't be just in a silo the Department of Agriculture's got to be one of the key players, because agriculture in Iowa is really, an issue that I think Iowa farmers are concerned about it. When we hear about landowners who have to lay out a considerable amount to be able to do the right thing, we need to make sure that there's cost share so all Iowans help pay for ensuring that our rivers and streams are there. So I would think that, this thing wasn't meant to be just a framework of where to start, and I would suggest that we do have that. And and then have a discussion whether the committee wants to make some recommendations. I do believe, though, that as legislators, we do have the right to tell the department to research what it would cost if we implemented specific programs. And this is pretty general right here. Kind of taking into consider that they've sat here and listened to everything that was said, and they, follow along, but we could be more specific about where and what we really want to focus on. So with that, I support the motion, and think it's a wise one.
Senator Representative
Motion. Mr. Chair, I plan on supporting the motion, and probably will be happy here because otherwise I have about 10 minutes of comments to make. If we're going to have another meeting, I can maybe get that down to 5. But following along the lines of the comments that were made, I had a couple groups before today invite me to their, one was a group in Butte, when voters, they made clean water an issue statewide for their organization. There's a new organization in the Iowa River. I think some of the representatives are here today that invited me to a forum because they wanted to talk about these issues. The work is important to them. And I indicated that I think they should consider this meeting a success if we agree to meet again, talk about what we heard in the meeting, making recommendations. That being said, I think the mission we got from the Legislative Council was quite clear. That is that we're supposed to come back with recommendations on goals, priorities, projects, and how we go about measuring success. Four very broad questions, but I think if we have our staff and key leaders working on something along those lines over the next few weeks, we can come up with some really solid recommendations along those lines. In the meantime, I'm going to second the motion of my minority member of the Senate and suggest the minority member of the House would be happy to work with them on the 3/8 cents issue. I think there's nothing else we need to educate on and how it is we can go about. We do have the resources to go about finding more resources than we have to do the kind of things that 63% of Iowans ask us to do. But I think that's a separate issue that we can take back to our committees and work on, not necessarily getting this committee involved.
Any other discussion? Otherwise, all in favor of the motion to have another meeting first week until the session, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Seeing that there isn't any other business, I move to adjourn. Thank you for everybody.